Thank you so much for coming. My name is Cyndi Upthegrove. I'm the managing trustee for the Highline Historical Society. And for those of you who came to hear a terrific program about trees, you will. But as it turns out, today is also our annual meeting. And we want to talk a little bit about the new museum down on the corner. I want to begin first by thanking all of you for coming and introduce those members of our Board of Trustees that are here. If they'll stand up, Lloyd Herman, Gary Long, Mike Emerson. Are there any other board members here? Oh, Kitty Melney. So we have a board of 9. And they are very busy right now. This is my last board meeting. I'm retiring on January 1st, so I'm excited to be here and then to not be here. So, what I wanted to do today was show you what we're doing down the street. Everybody says, when are you going to open? And we say, we don't know. We're still working on things. We have had a number of unexpected things happen. For example, in the midst of this project, our architect died unexpectedly. One day, one of the walls fell down right when we first started. We've just had a strike of the operating engineers that set our paving back 6 weeks. So it's very difficult to put a time on when this place is going to open, but we're continuing to work. So I'm going to sit down and walk through about 30 quick slides to show you where we are and what we're doing. I want to tell you that most of the exhibit work done in this building is being done by our fabulous curator of collections, Nancy McKay. Nancy not only works for us, she teaches museum exhibit design to the master's program in museums at the University of Washington. So we have the blessing of having a real pro on our staff. This is a quick floor plan. I put it on here just to show you that we're trying to put way too much stuff in too small a space. This museum serves White Center, Burien, Seatac, Normandy Park, and Des Moines in about 4,000 square feet. And then we have another 2,500 square feet for collection storage and archival work. From the collection storage area, you can look off a mezzanine and get an overview of what the exhibit cases and the walls look like inside the museum. The exhibits are not in. They're all being built, and they can be installed in very short order, but they aren't in there yet. What you see in the background is a tower that'll be 14 feet high. It will divide the space between the Normandy Park section and the Burien section, and it'll be a photo tower, and it will also have some empty spaces where we can put 3-dimensional artifacts. The other day, we had installed a 16-foot by 12-foot aerial photograph of Highline. Everybody says to us, where's Highline? What's Highline? So we received a very nice grant from the McEachran Foundation and hired an aerial photography firm. And 6 weeks ago, they got a nice sunny day and took a picture of Highline. We gave it to a billboard company, and they have made a fabulous photograph of it. And it's in the lobby at the museum. This is the fellow installing it last Thursday. It's very big, 16 by 12. But Highline's big, 240,000 people. There's going to be a lot of interactive elements in this building for children, as well as for individuals that don't want to use computers. Not everybody wants every single thing to be done on a computer. And we are going to be the Highline Heritage Museum. We're going to speak to everyone's heritage. You don't have to have grown up here or be 90 years old. You can be a recent newcomer to our area, and you still have a heritage. And so we're going to be talking about Highline's heritage. And there will be 3 trees where you can stand at a computer and insert information, and before you leave, it will be projected in aggregate with everybody else's on another wall. This world map will show the aggregate, because you'll talk about where you're from, and it will show where the population here is from. We have a geology section. Some of you may not know they found a dinosaur out here. In 1967, they were digging to install the lead-in lights on the north end of Seatac Airport for the first runway, and encountered the intact skeleton of a megalonyx, which is a giant sloth. It's 14 feet long, 30,000 years old, and it lives up at the Burke. They won't give it to us. Of course, we don't want to have to put a paleontologist on our staff, so we have enlisted the support of the local cities, and they're funding a replica. And it's being made now, and it will be installed in the exhibit, and we'll have ourselves a sloth, for heaven's sakes. I had hoped to be able to bring a real sloth in for children to hold and people to look at, but neither the Woodland Park Zoo nor Point Defiance has a sloth. So we're just going to have to sell sloths, stuffed sloths in the museum store, and let people look at this one. We'll have a geology section. We have a interesting area, and we've got lots of geology to talk about. We've got shells, and we're sitting 400 feet up on what's called the Tukwila Shale, and this used to be an ocean right here. So if you dug down, you'd probably just get a shovel full of old seashells. We also, in Highline, have 15 miles of shoreline that we thought we should address. So, dollars permitting, we hope to have an interactive screen that lets you call up information about the various things in our local waters. Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. We have mountains of photography. We own more than 100,000 photos. Many of them are from the school's collections, but others are from people who have given them to us and that have been taken in the area. We'll have a section about the local Salish tribes. Nancy works very closely with the Muckleshoots. She was given 10 minutes to be on their tribal agenda, and they kept her for 2 hours. I said, have they made you an elder? She said, no, but I sure like them, and they like her too. So they've been very helpful, and they are funding part of our tribal exhibit, and they are also making sure that what we're putting in there is accurate. the section on Normandy Park. Now, the section on these cities is pretty small for each one. And so Normandy Park has that big tall piece that has photos on it from way back all the way up to their zombie festival. We have a history case. We have a wall with a map on it of early Normandy Park. This one. And then we have another case that holds a 150-year-old, totally complete set of china that belonged to a longtime Normandy family. We have also been given, and cannot put it in the Normandy Park section, a canoe that's more than 100 years old. It's made out of teak and brass, and it belonged to a family that lived on the water. They explored Puget Sound in it. They took it out into the ocean, and it has remained in good condition and intact, and we're going to hang it in our archives because we don't have room in the gallery. But that belonged to the Ingram family, and the Ingram Glacier on Mount Rainier is named for them. And it's a beautiful, beautiful canoe from a custom set of orders. Its twin was given to Queen Elizabeth. This is that tower that one side will host photos of Normandy Park and the other side of Burien. In order to not take up an awful lot of space, we're doing Burien as a great big book. It's 10 feet tall and the pages are 6 or 7 feet wide. And we have pioneers and longtime residents writing the text, and we're adding photos for each page of Burien. It reminds me kind of going in a store and there's a display of carpets where you can move things back and forth. We call it our Burien book. It doesn't take up very much space, but it holds lots and lots of information. And then we have a historical timeline that you'll be able to run through and move it, or crank it, or some such thing that tells when things happened in Burien. And a business case, we call it, that holds an awful lot of memorabilia from local Burien businesses. Then there's the Seatac airport section. Many of you have probably seen the Pan Am fuselage leaning against the wall of our building outside right now. It's doing that because it won't go through the door. We have to get the local welder to come over and cut the bottom off the feet so we can get it inside. And so that'll happen on Tuesday, and that will go up on the wall where that nose is. The tower that's there isn't going to be installed, maybe never, but certainly not soon, because it's very, very expensive. You see a shadow of a child at the bottom, and there's a joystick there, and that kid can make those model airplanes fly up above with that joystick. We have a wonderful collection of aircraft models, lots of airport memorabilia, and a wall where people who are mad at the airport can write what they think. And there it is. There's that fuselage. I like airplanes. I came to this job from the Museum of Flight, so I was happy to see a fuselage. And back in the corner, we have an exhibit about D.B. Cooper. You know, this is D.B. Cooper land. So it's our goal, once we can get into this building, is to every year on the anniversary of D.B. Cooper's hijacking to hold D.B. Cooper Fest and sell tags for $15, and you can come in and all the beer you can drink, and we'll have a skydiver come and local businesses help, and we believe in parties like that. Also, we have a lot of information about this because Nancy worked closely with the FBI agent that was in charge up until they turned everything over to their DC office. And one thing that we are going to put is a screen in the wall that attaches to a website where the serial numbers of all the $20 bills he was given are listed. So you can get into your wallet and see if you have one. If you do, you have to give it to us. Then this is the history case for Seatac. And this is an exhibit called Densho. Densho is a nonprofit that exists here in the Seattle area, founded by a man by the name of Scott Oki, who was a Microsoft millionaire, a Japanese gentleman, and he formed this nonprofit where every Japanese family in America can record their own history. And we will be the first off-site Densho site that they've had, where a Japanese individual can walk up to that computer and look up anybody in the country who is Japanese or add their own information. And Holland America has talked to us about bringing some of their foreign visitors over. Frequently when they come to town, they can't get into a hotel or onto a boat for 3 or 4 or 5 hours after they land, and so they could bring their Japanese visitors over, and these are the kinds of things they could find. And of course they can eat in Old Burien, so we like to work with the local community. We have an exhibit about sound transit and the light rail. The case that you see on the right actually slides into the wall. You pull it out and the exhibit will be in it. These exhibit cases were given to us 2 years ago by the Rosalie Wiley Doll Museum in Bellevue. Many of you may have been there, but the Doll Museum went out of business, and the new owners didn't want the exhibit cases. So they invited all the museums in the area to come over and take a look at them, and most people sent their curators over there and they couldn't figure out how to get them out of there. I sent all the men on the board over there with our project manager, and they got them out of there. So we were made a gift of $350,000 worth of spectacular museum exhibit cases, and they are hard to put back together. In the exhibit about Seatac, next to the Densho is an exhibit about the Seiki Gardens, another Japanese, good Japanese thing here in our area. The Seiki Gardens are part of the Seatac Highline Botanical Garden, and they were moved from their original site, and they are lovely. And Seatac also will host an exhibit about Alan Hovhaness. Alan Hovhaness is a composer of classical music. He's been touted by Gerard Schwartz, the retired Seattle Symphony lead, as being Mozart. He will be the next contribution to classical music that's known worldwide. Many, many times when they're hosting a Hovhaness symphony, a plane load of people will come from Japan just to hear the Hovhaness music. So we plan to play it back there. Or if we have people sleeping on the sidewalk out front, we'll play it out front. Our exhibit about White Center is a recreation of the 1950s office of the Highline Times. In the back end of it is a printing press, which is identical to the one that Jerry Robinson used to start the Highline Times. We have his golf bag. He was on our board for many, many years. his family is helping to fund this exhibit. If you were standing there looking at that, there's a wall behind you that will be covered with 1950s and 60s and 70s Highline Times. Then we have an exhibit about the trolley. We're just putting the nose of the trolley on there because we don't have space. For more than that, it's being built for us by the guys that work over at the Pacific Northern Railroad Archive. And they're terrific with things like this, and they're having a good time. The story of the trolley and how it came from Seattle and up to White Center and out to Seahurst was a good story here, so we're going to be able to tell it. And we'll also, in White Center, tell the story of Kid Matthews. Kid Matthews was a prize fighter from White Center. He fought Rocky Marciano. And we have been given by the family all of his old movie newsreels, like you used to see when you went to the movies, and had them digitized by the University of Washington. And we'll be able to play those newsreels, and instead of an exhibit case, it'll have rope around it and one of those things you can hit. He was a very interesting man. After he retired, he ran a tavern in White Center for years, and he was very much loved. And then there'll be a case with a White Center Then and Now exhibit. And a children's play area. Part of it will give kids the ability to put together their own megalonics. And then the east wall of the gallery, which is the opposite side of the wall from the parking lot, is 65 feet long. And if you add the two sides to it, you have about 80 feet. And it is to be a timeline of the Highline School District. Our largest collections are schools collections. They go back to 1870, and they're very complete. And so we have designed a reader rail 30 inches out from the wall. There will be desks behind it, photos. There will be lockers inserted in this rail where letter jackets and cheerleader uniforms and t-shirts and banners and all the fun things are there. We have 35,000 items from the Highline schools. And so in about 10 years, we can completely replace everything here and have all new stuff. So I think if you went to school in this area, that you're going to have a good time. If you went to school in the 60s, you ought to be able to walk up to the locker from the 60s and spend about 10 minutes there looking at photos and talking about your old friends. Our conference room is dedicated to Des Moines Memorial Drive, which is the only World War I highway in the country. And so we have a very nice exhibit about it that will be installed there in about 90 days. Right now, we have a panel exhibit that we are putting in that was given to us by the Smithsonian Institute. It's an organization called SITES, Smithsonian Institute Traveling Exhibition Service, and we're very pleased that they have decided that we can take care of these kinds of things and are letting us do this. So although the end of World War I passed last week, we're going to leave this World War I exhibit from the Smithsonian up for 2 or 3 months so people can enjoy it. It's a poster panel exhibit. It'll be on the walls of our conference room, which is off the lobby. When you drive by our building, you see a window that faces the street. That will be a museum exhibit, and behind it is where the conference room is. Also in there will be a World War I exhibit case that will have a permanent exhibit in it from World War I, We have in Seatac, in Normandy Park, one of the country's finest collectors of World War I memorabilia, Tom Goodmanstad, who is a retired paramedic, is donating fabulous things to us to put into this case and make a diorama from World War I. And after you leave this gallery and walk toward the back door, there will be bathrooms on the left and there will be access to the archives on the right, but there will be a 17-foot long exhibit case that we call our community case, and every 6 months we're going to change it. The museum will open with an exhibit by Michelle Denmarsh. Michelle is an internationally known photo collector from Normandy Park. She does books about photo art, and over the last 35 years, photographers who didn't have the money to pay for the book gave her their photos, and now she's got this collection of priceless photos, and she's doing an exhibit about it. And the bottom right is what the bathroom doors look like. So hopefully this is how the parking lot will end up. I believe in whimsy, so I think we can do more than a handicap spot. And again, here's the new photo. And Dave's Diner closed last month, so he gave us his neon sign, and it's about to be mounted in the Seatac area. So there you have it. And that's what's going in over there. If you have any questions, I'll be around afterwards to answer.